Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give it a couple minutes for some additional people to join. So we'll probably start around the 10:02 mark.
I do want to
Oh,
encourage everyone, if you have questions, just throw them in the chat um, or the Q&A. Chris, what were you about to say?
I was just going to let everyone know that we will be sending out a recording of the webinar afterwards, so you will have access. Seems like we have a pretty good group of people.
Want to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it. So thank you everyone for joining us today. If we appreciate your time and willingness to listen to what we have to say. Today we'll be kind of going over a couple things. One is going to be the new features that we're introducing for this next version of Maestro, as well as looking at kind of where we're going in the near and long term future. And finally, we'll open it up for some Q&A. So if there's anything that you want to ask us, we'll make ourselves available to answer those questions. Um, yeah, so let's dive into it. Awesome. So a really big focus for this next release of Maestro was actually all about the ability to share tools. And while that was a big portion of it, what we've included for this next release are a whole bunch of user experience improvements, and we'll start with the ribbon management. Um, First of all, we now support the ability for nomadic tools. So your tools can actually follow you wherever you go. So whether you're moving from one version of Revit to another, or even from one computer to another computer, your tools are always going to be there and ready to be used. Secondly, we've actually made some improvements to the UI to make it easier for people to understand the relationship between their buttons and the scripts that they're assigned to. On top of that, we have the ability to kind of see whether or not tools are external from your ribbon or tools that you've deployed to others. Now, this is probably one that a lot of people are going to be interested in is our improvements to the AI and scripting. Based on the feedback that we received, we have rebuilt our interface with the Maestro AI and allow it to be more conversational so that it aligns to the expectations that users have for their AI and how they interface with it. Secondly, we've had the inclusion of chat history. So if you're going back to a script that you've been working on at a later time, you can go through and get an understanding of how you've already interfaced with the AI and how it got you to that point. Now, really what this allows for is the ability to code at your convenience. Now we understand that designers are getting pulled all the time. It's not an easy job, and so you're not going to be able to just sit down necessarily and work on that code in one sitting. Finally, we have code versioning, which is also included, so you can create at you can get to a point that you're really happy with a script, deliver that out to your team, but then you can start to iterate without losing the work you've already done. So here we'll kind of go through what that new UI looks like. So here you can see we have the some scripts I've already written, and you can go back and see the chat history from when I was interfacing with the Maestro AI. Also, we've moved the console to a new location so that you can kind of hide it and have more real estate to code. And then we've added the ability to create those versions right next to the script name. So you click on that and you can iterate either through uh, a major or a minor revision. So next we're
Sorry.
going to talk about deployment. And again, this was a really big focus for us. Now with deployment, you're going to be able to easily share your tools and shortcuts with all of your colleagues instantaneously. Now on top of that, once you have the tools in front of your users, you may want to make changes. And so you can modify those deployments so that you know that all of your users are using the latest and the greatest of those tools you're developing. So this is the process for creating deployments. So here I have a list of buttons that I've already created, and I'm going to select the deployment button. Now what it'll do is give me some checkboxes so that I can add those to the deployment that I'm about to create. Next, once I'm happy with my selections, I will then name the deployment so that we can find it on the web portal. And I get confirmation that it was created successfully. Now, this is the web portal for your deployments. You'll be able to refresh right here, and you can see that that deployment that I made is showing up correctly. Now, you can also verify that all the deployments that you selected made it safe and sound. You also don't need to open Revit. So if you want to go through and check to see what's included in deployment, you don't have to open Revit for that. This is a remote instance, so you'll be able to see how quickly the deployments make it to the target machine. So I'm going to select, I want to have the group of development have this tool. I also have the option to send it to individuals if I wanted to. In this case, I'm happy with just the deployments being the ones that receive it. So I'll hit save. And you can look on the left and you'll see those tools appear in the ribbon. And that's live speed. That's exactly how fast they'll arrive at your target computers. Next, I can kind of run through everything and make sure that all of the tools are showing up as intended. And everything looks good. Now, just as easily as you can share tools, you can also revoke them. So next, I'll kind of go through that reverse process. I'll find the deployment that I wanted to revoke. I'll select from our list and pull them out, hit save, and you can see how quickly those tools disappear off of the ribbon. Now, this is kind of a closeout of the big features for the Revit add-in. Next, we're going to talk about this new web portal we've created. This is a place for managers and admins to come in and get an understanding of how Maestro is being used within the firm. On top of that, you can manage your team, you can manage scripts, deployments, all from a bird's eye view. So let's start with the dashboard. This is going to be your information hub. Here you can start to understand how often people are interfacing with the Maestro AI through our AI chat threads. You can see how often tools are being run at a firm level. And additionally, you can actually go through and see how many active users you're getting every day. We've also included a activity stream so that you can see at a granular level how people are using Maestro. So next, we'll kind of go over what we showed before, which was the deployment manager. Here, you're able to kind of get an understanding of all the deployments that are currently available to your team. You can verify what tools are included with those deployments, and finally assign them and send them out. We also have a script management view. Now, this is really important because you can understand how scripts are actually faring. So if you look right there, we have the export opening data. So we've seen that it's been run 10 times. It's only been successful once. Well, as a BIM manager, I probably want to go in, or as a developer, I want to go in and try and understand why is this failing, right? Also, you can start to see which scripts are being run the most, so you can understand where you should be putting your development efforts. And finally, we have our user management. Now, this is the place where you'll go in and assign permissions for all the different users, whether they're a super or a basic user, if they have admin access, and if they have AI access. We've also made it easy to create groups so that when you want to deploy, you're not having to go through and select all the same, a list of individuals every time. You can easily group the people that need the specific tools together. And that is Maestro for the next release. Next, we'll actually be talking a little bit about where we're going. And for that, I'll hand it off to Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So, um, I do want to talk about kind of a long-term picture for Maestro. We are going to get into a little bit of a short-term roadmap, but in general, we want to talk about vision and where we want to take this product. And to start with that, I want to talk about what the past year we've kind of been doing since we started this effort. Um, you know, we started Maestro in kind of December of 2023, which is incredible. And we started it with just this idea of like, hey, can we take this existing technology that we had, which was, kind of dynamically editing the Revit ribbon, and can we kind of shoehorn AI in there, right? This is like right when the AI buzz really started. And can we make scripts and get them mounted so that we can do this like rapid prototyping of a new tool set? And we did it. We went from idea to product in a matter of like 2 months. And this left us with a really difficult question kind of looming in the background. And that's, are we actually solving a problem, or did we just make something cool for the sake of making something cool? Now, the past year has, talking to all of you as well as others, we've really learned that this product development is a little more turbulent than we initially suspected. And there's a name for this in software development. It's called product fit, and that's really what we've been doing and what we've been focused on. And the big takeaway is that for the most part, people are comfortable with the idea of creating new tools, whether it's through Dynamo or PyRevit or C Sharp or Visual Basic. Um, it's really sharing the tools and tracking that telemetry that people seem to be most interested in. The second thing that we've kind of taken away from this, which we found surprising, is that what to develop, focusing on which scripts to develop or which tools to develop, is often as hard as or even harder than how to develop. You know, um, coding lessons, are a dime a dozen these days. Dynamo lessons, you can go online and get them, they're free. We are seeing an influx of new developers and new coders every day at a rate that's really unprecedented. And that's not even to mention the fact that AI is now doing a lot of this for us. So what we've started to realize is like, hey, you know what? It's the what should we be focusing on that is still confusing people? Should I focus on tool A or tool B? Where we are today, I want to talk a little bit about how we see the current landscape as well as kind of where Maestro sits before we dive into what it can be. We've kind of bucketed users into three general categories. Now, every person in AEC is a combination of at least two of these, but I think it's nice conceptually to have these nice delineations. You have architects and engineers who feel this need on a day-to-day basis, right? They can really identify when something is inefficient or when they don't like doing something or when a task is very, very tedious. But often they can't define what the tool should be. They can't write that specification. And then additional to that, they can't develop it. You have digital practice and BIM managers who often still feel that need, right? They're still in the trenches, but they can also start to define, hey, we need a tool that does X, Y, and Z, and we need it to do it in this order. But oftentimes they've never learned to develop. They're too busy. There's plenty to do. There's 60 hours of work every single week, and they've never been able to really dive into Dynamo in a substantial way. And finally, you have like computational designers or even on-staff developers, which often can develop the tool, but are that one step removed from the day-to-day project, so they don't feel that need. They don't have the ability to go through and write the specification the way that digital practice can. And I think in the long term, we really feel that Maestro can combine these three, right? Maestro can be almost a fourth category. It's a software as a team member that can identify that need, that can define the scope of what that tool should be, and then can also develop that tool. Now, we're a little bit away from this. Where we are currently is that for architects and engineers, we're going to be able to provide them quicker access to the files and scripts that they need in that moment. For digital practice, we can provide the telemetry that they need to help guide the creation of these new scripts. And for computational designers and developers, we can shorten the timeline for getting a script into use with that instantaneous deployment, right? Scaffold out a script really, really quickly with the use of AI, get it into the hands of a user, as Chris showed, within a matter of minutes, and get them using it and get feedback and really shorten that life cycle of test and reproduce. Now, what does our roadmap look like? We will be publishing a more granular roadmap in the coming weeks, but at a very, very high level, we're going to start with product delivery. Early access is essentially ready. And moving on from there, moving towards 1.0, we're going to focus on delivering everything that we've talked to you guys about already. Now, three things that we've prioritized are Dynamo integration, improving the results of AI, and also a ticketing and feedback system. After that, we're looking towards the cloud. Autodesk, Graphisoft, Bentley, they've all made it abundantly clear that they believe that cloud infrastructure is the future and it's where AEC technology is going. And we want to be right there with them. So we are going to be looking at expanding to other platforms and making it so that we're not just a Revit only add-in. And finally, we're looking at data. This goes back to what I was talking about what to develop. We want to be able to identify the needs of the user in real time and be able to deliver on those needs in a meaningful way. In other words, we want to complete this automation life cycle. On the right, we have this wheel, and this is the process that Chris and I go through as developers every week. We meet with the users and we analyze their needs and we write a specification and then we develop the product. And then with the help of IT, we deploy the product and have users use it. And then it starts all over. We get feedback from the users, we analyze that feedback, and it goes on and on and on. Maestro at its current state is helping us in a significant way, and it's delivering in a significant way on these categories: the development, the deployment, and the use of software. Looking forward, we think that the biggest next leap and the most logical next leap is a real focus on analysis and recommendation. We think that with the help of AI and emerging technologies, we can make it so that Maestro can, in real time, as your team is working on a project, identify these needs and deliver game-changing tools at a rate that is completely unprecedented in the AEC space, or almost any space. If this kind of resonates with you guys, if you believe in this like we believe in this, we do want you to be an early access partner. We want you to help us guide this product and where we currently are into its full version. There are a few of you online who are already early access partners, and then there's a handful of you that we've talked to about this already. But if you haven't, or if you aren't aware, we are offering early access, and you get everything that Chris showed. You get the ability to customize your ribbon, you get the access to the AI and the script versioning, and you get the ability to deploy and track telemetry across your organization. So if this interests you, please reach out. We're still taking on partners. We want your input to help make this the best product that it can be. And at this point, we'll open this up to Q&A. And Chris, I think we can do the hand raise. Can we unmute people?
I believe so.
We can. Well, if there's no questions, we did a great job. So I'll just. Okay, we got one Q&A coming in. Admin rights for the deployment. Let's see. Oh, we got a couple. So Eduardo, it will be shared, yes. So Alistair, regarding admin rights, so in this version, in the first release, we are locking it down such that the original author of the deployment is the only one that can kind of manage and modify that deployment. Now, in the future, we have set up the backend such that we are going to expand that to allow for a more collaborative process between super users, to where user A can develop something and user B, if given the permissions to edit that deployment, can make modifications to those scripts in that toolbar. But as of right now, it's locked down as we kind of get our feet wet in moving into this and kind of working out what people's preferred process is. Let's see.
Awesome. We also have Brian had asked, with the deployments, are you planning on quarterly release? And I think that brings a really good point. As most of you are aware, who have been participating in the early access, it's taken us a little while to get to this point. Now, a big part of that was really building the infrastructure, the cloud infrastructure, and all of that. In moving forward, we have slated these larger endeavors, but on top of that, we're working to actually increase the rate of development, and the like using more of a like stories, so breaking down the improvements into smaller chunks so that we can get them into the hands of users faster.
Yeah, for the increasing the release cadence.
Yes.
Yep. We'll just give it one more minute, see if anyone comes up with anything else. Yes, the recording will be available.
And if you have
Chris,
any I was gonna say, if you have any issues accessing the recording, just reach out and we'll be able to give it to you as well. But it should automatically be sent through Microsoft Teams.
quick question about managing the AI data. How is this done from the AI? Some practices are locking down access. Are you, actually, Alistair, I'm going to just give you mic rights, if that's okay, just so we can make sure I'm. So in terms of AI access, there's really two different types of AI that we're looking at. The first one, of course, is AI code generation. The second one is the potential to feed telemetry into AI in the long term. The latter we are not doing at all yet. We're locked down to just code generation via AI. The platform that we're using right now is the Microsoft Azure platform. So it is a sandboxed AI environment that basically the terms of use on that indicate that user input is not trained upon. So your data is basically staying with us and on our servers only. If that doesn't answer your question, please clarify.
Yeah, no, that does, absolutely. So yeah, there was just I was at a session this week for digital design leaders, and Midjourney's terms and conditions came up, as did D5s where essentially any image you put into their software, they can have absolute universal rights to do what they want with it. So including the IP. So there was a lot of concern about that. So yeah, there's a practices we're talking about, okay, how do we manage that? And some of the larger practices have lawyers who are reading the end user license agreements and going, nope, you can't use that, which is, quite unusual. From traditionally, we all know that Autodesk has its own terms and conditions, and we all have to live with those. But with the AI based, just where that data is held is super important to most practices. So yeah, that does answer it. So thanks very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, in the long term, we're playing with this idea of, having our own LLM, right? And self-hosting. As of right now, the Azure environment is the only one that we've found that we are really comfortable with right now. Every other kind of commercial level environment that we can build on top of really has dubious ownership rights. So that's how we land on the platform that we're currently using. In the long term, that might change, but we're very cognizant of data rights and trying to maintain that for our clients.
Looks like we have someone is potentially asking a question, so let them do that. So we have, I'll just read it. We have from Paul, when you talk about the roadmap, are you planning to analyze how users are using Revit to recommend tasks that could be automated? Just elaborating on the plan for how those recommendations are going to work. Will it automatically write scripts or just make recommendations? That's a great question, Paul.
We don't have any plans yet. What we're talking about right now is definitely a vision, but I will say that just from a conceptual level, right, it does need some understanding of how you are working to be able to make recommendations. These types of telemetry systems are already in place. There's already software out there that does this. Frankly, Autodesk does it, right? If you're a BIM manager in charge of your Autodesk environment, you already get recommendation, like, Autodesk looks at the Revit journal files and has started to make recommendations for how to improve your team's performance based off of their interactions. So what I will say is that there's nothing that we would look at doing that isn't already being done in the industry. We're very aware of kind of that big brother feeling that people get when they're being closely watched. What we so to answer kind of the first part of your question, yes, the answer is probably we'll be looking at how users are using Revit as well as other software to understand how it can be automated. Looking at whether it'll write scripts initially or just make those recommendations, I think that the answer is probably both, depending on the exact context. Again, this is an unsolved problem. This is kind of a longer term vision that we believe is the future and that we're looking to move towards. But this is not something to where we have a POC working in the background or something that we're testing already. So unfortunately, at this point, I can't elaborate on exactly what that will look like.
Although that's why being a partner is so important, because we can get the understanding and input from you yourself to help dictate what is going to be most effective.
Yep.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, we're at the 30-minute mark. Oh, we do see a new post, so let's see.
Yep, Brian
Awesome.
has one. Brian is asking, I like the feature of going back to old scripts. Did you mention you'll also be able to categorize these? We don't have categories yet. So that's a great suggestion though. Let us think about that and take that into consideration. I guess, Brian, I'm going to actually give you mic access just momentarily. can you describe whether you want the versions to be categorized, or if you want the overall script? Like, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking even in the test and try portion of things when you're interfacing, uh, sometimes you're trying to more or less iterate multiple things to perhaps combine later or organize. So let's think of a singular task, but they might have 15 different iterations of what might be best for arriving at the solution, and being able to maybe almost feel like I would use the term kind of like keep it on the same page in a notebook, so to speak, right? Like be able to talk about those things inside of your DT group or with a particular project, uh, and allow people to say like, I like this version of it better, or you know, more or less like it, I just don't want it to be a search history of things, is what I'm saying. And I think that it might be easier if you could just put one little chunk of metadata on it to um, maybe bunch certain things together based on the tasks. So
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. Yeah, thank you. All right, Chris, I think we give it about one more minute and then we let people have their time back. It is Friday after all, so I'm sure
Yes,
everyone
definitely.
will appreciate having 20, almost a half hour back. So
Well, I mean, I'm sure nobody has anything to do right now, so
yeah.
it's all right. Well, I'd say we're probably pretty good, unless anybody wants to just raise their hand if you have something that you're still typing. Um, Otherwise, I'd say this was great. We really appreciate everyone joining us, and we appreciate the participation that we've had with all of our partners. This product wouldn't be where it is now without your input, and we're looking forward to the future input and where things are going. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can reach out to either Ben or myself. We're always available. You can find us on Teams or through email. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and we look forward to taking this journey with everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.